Disclaimer: my intention is not to refute anything Jesus said, nor make any money from these videos, nor edit, add, or take away from any scriptures. But rather my intention is to preach the gospel and share any genuine light I may have. Please judge righteously and keep what is good. And remember, give God the glory, not man. His is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever. In this video, I want to introduce you to some of the teachings of Jesus and point you to discover the rest of them yourself, found in the 4 Gospels of the Bible: Matthew, Mark, Luke and John's Gospels. Jesus described his teachings as a rock to fall on and be broken, or the other option being that the rock would fall on you, grinding you into powder. Matthew 21:44, and this is the new version here. Anyone who falls on this stone will be broken to pieces. Anyone on whom it falls will be crushed. What this illustrates quite perfectly is the dire need to take these teachings very seriously, like your entire existence and faith hangs on it. Because it actually really does. Another perfect illustration of the importance of his teachings are found in Matthew 7:24-29. Now we have covered the need for attention to the teachings of Jesus, as without them we will not make it, right? You may be a bit worried on where this all is going, but how about we start with Matthew 5-7. Start to do those commands and the rest of them would just likely flow towards naturally. Let me list a few for you from that awesome sermon here. Pray, fast and give in secret. Only God should know about this. However, accountability is needed in any community of people, especially nowadays. For example, if it's necessary to share this information within the community members. It may or may not be that you lose some or the entire reward in heaven for that specific one alm or fast. Do not use titles of respect like pastor, mom, dad, sir, reverend, etc. This kind of respect and honor belongs to God only. Turn the other cheek. Love your enemies, do good to those who hate you, and pray for those who persecute you. Forgive to be forgiven, the Our Father in Heaven prayer. In secret from now on, please. Thank you. Here's just a few examples. Please read yourself and start doing it. Now, if you can handle more, let's get into the further implications of some of the teachings. Jesus laid out certain rules to become his disciple in the first place, which translates to a Christian. People first started calling Jesus' disciples Christians in Antioch at the time of Paul. You can find these rules in Luke 14 listed very clearly. What it sums up is in essence to forsake all. Jesus says, forsake your parents, spouse, children, possessions, and your very own life also. Read the chapter yourself, and please do know that he means it all. I would really pair this chapter with Luke 12:33, wherein Jesus says, sell all that you have and give it to the poor. And nope, it's not to the rich young guy, but it's the Luke's version of the Sermon on the Mount right there. Now, there are many people who argue that they have forsaken all in heart, in the fear of the implications of this command. Now, I'll cross-reference a picture to that statement. Do you really think these people care if you have forsaken all in your heart? They are still out there on the streets, hungry and dying, even the third of the entire population. Try telling them that you cannot forsake all really because you're afraid to let go of your wealth. In as much as you don't help these people by selling everything and giving it to them, forsaking all, you are not a Christian. Yes, there I've said it, I will say it again. Lest you let go of this life, you cannot be a Christian. Look at those starving kids. Do you honestly think that you can lie to God, the Almighty? Please, you who are rebelling against the teachings of Jesus, repent now at last. There is another concept I want to talk about, and it's the mark of the beast. Please read Revelation 13 to understand what it's about. In essence, it's a mark that goes to the right hand or forehead, and it will be the only way to buy or sell. I believe we're at the very last years before the enforcement of this mark, as signs like cash disappearing, more and more digital payment solutions, quantum technology, AI technology. There's even a new system called blockchain, which seems to be an automated banking and other data frame solution without any human overwatch, running on artificial intelligence alone, much like the obnoxious Skynet in the Terminator or the whatever the big machine face creepy thing is in Matrix movie series. There are projects like the UN's 2030 goal to have every person on the planet identified. Huduma card in Africa, China's horrible surveillance system with points allocated to people like they're in some kind of a game or something, and the Aadhaar in India. This brings me to the point of living by faith and working for God primarily by preaching the gospel. Back to the Sermon on the Mount. In Matthew 6:24, Jesus says something super radical. He says that no one, that includes all people, no one can serve both God and money. Depending on the translation, it says either money or mammon, but actually mammon is even worse, as it includes money and all the things it can buy. Just Wikipedia it, and I'll show it on the screen also. What this is in effect is that not a single person can work for God and for pay at the same time. It's simply impossible because you would be cheating or one or the other employer. Think about it honestly. If you have a paid job, you're tied to that and there goes your time, right? You could argue you're working for money to give more away. Really? Seriously? Let's take a look. Arguably, the rent or cutting the loan for your house, apartment or vehicle is the greatest hit on your budget. After which you would buy food, clothing, maybe pay for transport, whatever. What's left for the poor? Next to nothing, maybe a 5 whatever currency thrown into a pot of a homeless person on the streets dying of cold and hunger and diseases, you know. Is that really something you want to invest your time, life into? Remember, all the real funding would go towards yourself, and you would be left out without time to really serve God. In example, preach the gospel. There's something Paul said that is very radical also. It's found in 1 Timothy 6:10. He says the love of money, which is greed, and which is the same thing as idolatry, is the root of all evil. Some translations have watered this verse down to all kinds of evil, from the original all evil. Alright, so greed is the root of all evil, and as I just illustrated to you, working for money is a really bad bet, as you would just be serving yourself in idolatry and selfishness. Jesus said the road to hell is wide, and the way to life is narrow. Here's a scary thought. What do almost all people have in synonymous? Working for money, right? Does that fit in with a description of a wide road? Now, I'm not judging you or anyone, rather I'm just a messenger to preach the gospel. Jesus will judge you, me and everyone, you can rest assured of that. I am not up to scare you either or induce panic, rather I want to tell you the truth so you may be set free. This likely raises some obvious questions to you, like how could I live without working for a pay? Like what would I eat? Where would I sleep? I understand, and I was like this in the beginning also, but you know what? Jesus has already provided answers to all this and more. Jesus says God will provide for anyone who works for him to advance his kingdom of love and truth in Matthew 6:25 to 34. I have more good news. Please watch a video linked to the description called Happily Homeless. It's a 2-part documentary of how life is following Jesus, living by faith and preaching the gospel, and is made by people who are already following him in love and truth. I'll also tell you how I started out. Years ago it was winter, and the very next day my apartment would have been finished. There was a great snowstorm coming. I was going to head out to the streets to freeze and die, because I was greatly distressed to the knowing I did not have access to any of the promises made for Christians before I had finished the trial set by Jesus to get to be one of his, to forsake all. I was thinking that, hey, if I pull this off and die, I'll be in heaven for sure. Great, let's do it. So my friend became aware of my intentions, got very worried, and called certain people, which led to a meeting with a local church person, out of all people, which again led to us rushing to a hospital to a mental health evaluation. I wasn't against the hospital visit, as I was quite stressed out and tired due to getting rid of all this stuff, but I did feel God say to me to refuse that visit in the spot, but instead I complied. My mistake. Maybe I started to have doubts about myself and the entire concept of forsaking all. Who knows? Well, we had the checkup. I was just talking normally and told them that I will be forsaking all and I will go live on the streets. I thought that, let's talk this through, get over it and finish it. I can get back to my apartment, get it empty till tomorrow and head out to the streets. Okay, so soon, little do I know, soon I found myself locked into a ward where I was locked up for 5 weeks and forced medication. Praise God. And in the end, turns out the hospital had illegally locked me up and forced me medication because of the fact that I came in willingly. But all in all, I'm quite happy about it because through the ward visit I made a few very good friends, got fed 4 special meals a day and had a place to sleep. 3 of these friends later on let me stay at their place for months without any payments whatsoever. And even one of them let me stay for 5 months. Gave me many resources to use for God and was very helpful all in all. Nowadays I'm just using homeless shelters or sleeping at some friend's place, whatever. It doesn't really matter when you're living by faith, it all just flows when you work for God. It's great. And I'm doing really well. God is very gracious and good. He can really provide us anything we need for his work, and he will. Please come along with others who are already following Jesus in faith and love, out of the systems which run on greed, fear, selfishness, and many lies, the biggest of which is that you can't live without money. Please share this message about the teachings of Jesus with as many people as possible. You can also like the video and create a public playlist to share further, and please do. My email address is found on the screen. If you feel inclined to link up and follow Jesus together in love, truth and unity, then please do contact me. Thank you.